I woke up before dark in Yap, went out to the airport and loaded up 30 cases of water. Flew over to Feist, dropped the water in Feist, shaking hands with a bunch of loincloth guys. Flew up to Guam, rushed, refueled the plane, went down to thank the Rotary for their generous donations. Sat next to the First Lady for lunch.
When I heard that Joe was going to be at the meeting, it really touched my heart because I knew the efforts he was doing on the relief for Yap and the islands.
Went up to the clinic, did some surgery for about 30 minutes, ran back to the plane, jumped in, filed, and now we're on the way to Satawal. It's another day at the office.
This is Joe Edhlund, a man with a tremendous affection for Pacific Islanders. A man who became an angel of mercy when Typhoon Lupit roared through the outer islands of Yap State 2 days before Thanksgiving.
The forecast at one point is that we were going to get a 5-foot storm surge with, at that time, I think it was about 30-foot seas on top of it, which gives us about a 35-foot increase in sea level in an island that's 15 feet high.
The most immediate threat to the low-lying outer islands is to the food supply, and even before the storm hit, Pete Peterson of MDA and Philip Gerling of Nissan offered the use of their businesses as collection points.
Pete came up the next morning with some hundreds of pounds of food and clothing and supplies, and we were able to get that on the plane and get down to Ulithi that same day. Well, you know, it was coming up on Thanksgiving, and one of the things that's critical in a severe situation is to keep the morale up. I was thinking, what better morale booster is there than to bring them a good hot meal on Thanksgiving Day? Bring them, you know, I couldn't figure out how to bring hundreds of turkeys down there, but I got in touch with Costules, and they agreed to provide a bunch of free chickens for the trip, and then also got in touch with Sophia, who's in charge of the Flalop Ulithi community here in Guam. She went out and bought a bunch of chickens. I went out and bought a bunch of chickens myself for the first day's flight, and we delivered hot chicken. And I thought that's a great way to boost their morale.
For the chicken, Thanksgiving this week, everybody on Flalop, every family eat chicken. And thank you very, very much. Jesus Masi, for all your donations. We appreciate it very much.
It's hard to go out to Ulithi and not come away with good friends. It's impossible. You go to Ulithi, you have good friends in Ulithi, your first visit. They're wonderful, wonderful people. I've spent many, many years out in the South Pacific and in tiny islands, and that's where my affinity for places like Ulithi comes from. I've been through almost all the South Pacific island groups.
You speak English? I'm Joe. Francis, nice to meet you. These are gifts from Guam. Is there anything in particular you're needing?
Water and food.
Water and food. Water and food. And we try to return, bring you some water and food.
The main challenge we have is getting them to the remote islands that don't have airstrips. We have 10 to 15 foot waves. We have no lagoons. Satawal and Ifalik in these areas that we're trying to emergency drop water to today.
You have a good signal. I copy you fine. I haven't let Buchai know we're trying to get the blue sky off. It's going to try to make a run tonight. It's loading up water. It's going to try to drop off some bubble wrap water.
Yeah, they're happy to get liquids, water, Gatorade, any kind of liquid. They have. Some of these people haven't had anything to drink for probably 9 to 10 days. And they've lost all their coconuts, and their rain and catchment systems are destroyed, so they're really counting on us to drop this water off in Gatorade for them. So we're happy to be doing it.
All right, to that. We're headed down to Satawal. We're airborne. Should be there in about 2.5 hours. Over. So we'll drop on the southeast side of the island, and the sea is calm there, right?
Each pass where Joe flies along the shore, and he's going as fast as he can with his arms going. I don't know how he picks up the bottles so fast, but he's throwing them out the window that fast.
and he probably has enough time before he gets to the end of the shore, the end of the length, to throw out maybe probably 25 to 35 bottles each pass.
And we need to get this stuff up here. We need to start getting loaded up right here.
It's like, you know, if you're playing in a band and you're backstage and it's like 20 minutes before the concert starts and you go home, you know? That's where we're at right now.
Well, we just got a point time of the surf is breaking there. We're going to go down, we'll cut in, and just past where the surf is breaking is where I'll begin to drop.
That the ones outside the reef are definitely holding up better.
They're what, holding up?
Yeah.
How do they know when they're breaking?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
They can't know that they're breaking. Sure, they make a splash.
How would they know that fast?
They wouldn't. I guess the big payoff has got to be the fact that nobody died from dehydration despite the drastic circumstances they were under. Those are my friends down there. To have saved the lives of your friends, that's a big payoff. I'm looking forward to bringing people down there that want to do both cultural tourism, diving, and have an ultimate getaway. It takes us about 2 hours to get to Ulithi. Dive to your heart's content for as long as you want, whether it's 3 or 4 hours or 3 or 4 days. We'll come down and pick you up and bring you back to Guam. Of course, also Sky Blue is offering charter services throughout the Micronesian islands, all the way out to the Marshalls, all the way west to Palau, and up to the CNMI. One thing we do pride ourselves also on is the ability to have convenient check-in. The saying we've got is we do require you to check in at least 5 minutes before you decide to go.